Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is DaveDev. In today's video we will go through the process of installing Composer and setting it up to be used in a PHP project, as well as enabling autoloading classes and adding third-party libraries to a project. What is Composer? Composer is a very useful tool for managing PHP dependencies. It allows a project to use your PHP libraries or third-party libraries in a more organized way, making it easier to be up to date with the latest release versions, as well as automatically including the required classes to your PHP code. It also gives you access to a massive list of third-party open source libraries that can be useful for multiple projects. Let's start by installing Composer on our machine. For this, we will need to go to the official Composer website. I will leave the link in the description. We will install Composer globally. That way, we will have access to the Composer command from anywhere. You can also install it locally on your project directory if you prefer that option, but you will need to specify the location each time you want to use the command. Let's download the installer from the website and install it in our machine. As Composer is a dependency manager for PHP code, you will need to have PHP installed on your machine. I have it installed inside a group of packages called XAMPP, which contains PHP, MySQL, and Apache in one bundle. I will select that PHP installation on the Composer installer. If you get an error during your installation regarding Xdebug, it is because you need to temporarily disable the Xdebug library, the one that we use to debug PHP in runtime, from the PHP ini config file. Remember that if you change anything on the PHP ini, you will have to restart the Apache services. And then go back to the installer and repeat the process again. Once the installation has finished, you will need to restart any command window that you had open, including VS Code. That will make sure that we can find the Composer command from any command line. Now that we have Composer installed, we can start using the Composer command line to set up our project. First, let's create a folder where we will locate all the third-party dependencies, as well as some Composer code. I will put this in my private lib folder. Now we will initialize Composer in our project. Open the command line and navigate to the root folder of the project. And now execute the following command. Now we need to fill all the questions that it prompts. For the dependencies, you just need to say yes to everything. Don't worry, we will set it up later on. If everything went correctly, the command should have generated a couple of files in the private lib folder, as you can see here. We don't need the src folder, so we can just delete it. And for the Composer JSON file, we should move it to the root folder of the project. Now we need to change a couple of things on the Composer JSON configuration file. First, in order for the Composer Autoload tool to find our code, we need to specify which folder should the Composer analyze. We can do that by specifying the following. This is basically telling the Composer Autoload tool that it should analyze all the PHP classes inside of the private folder. Secondly, as we move the Composer JSON file, we need to specify where the Composer vendor folder is located. We can do that by specifying the following. In order to use the Autoload tool, we need to include it in the file that we want to use it. For that, we can use the following code. This will basically get the root folder of the project and look for the Autoload script provided by our Composer installation. After these two lines, we can use files from our private or third-party library without including individual files. Let's create a class to test if our setup is working so far. First, we will need to specify the namespace of the class. I tend to set the namespace as the folder hierarchy where the file is located, but this is not mandatory. And then the class declaration. Let's make that the class prints a message when it gets created. Now, if we go back to the index.php file, we can include this class by specifying the following, which will hold the namespace and the name of the class that we want to use. And after this, we can use that class by just specifying its name. One thing to remember is that you need to execute the composer update command each time that you create a new class or change the name of a class in order to allow the Autoload tool to find it. And now let's execute this. As you can see, it's printing the application created message that we set on the constructor of the class. As we said before, Composer allows us to integrate third-party libraries quite easily, as well as downloading its latest version. There are many open source libraries accessible. You can take a look at them on the packages.org website. Once you found the library that you want, you can add it to the project by using the composer require command. This will download the library specified inside of the vendor folder and integrate it into our project. I'm going to install the monologue library as an example. If you go down here, you can see a couple of steps to install the library as well as how to use it. We are going to use the composer require to install the library into our project. And as you can see, it has downloaded the monologue library inside of vendor folder. And now I can use it in my project. Let's just copy this example to see if the code is working. Let's change the path of the log file that is going to create. And it seems to be working. As you can see, it has created the log file with the custom messages that we specified here. And for removing the library that you no longer need, you can use the composer remove command, followed by the vendor and the name of the library. And as you can see, it has disappeared from our vendor folder. An extra feature that comes with Composer is that you don't need to upload any of your third-party libraries to a repository. As long as you keep the Composer JSON file and have a Composer installation on each machine, you can re-download everything just by using the Composer install or the Composer update command. Let's do a quick test. First, let's delete the vendor folder as well as the Composer log file, as we don't need them. Now, if we execute the command composer update or composer install, it should come back to the original state of the project, with the third-party libraries installed and everything ready to go. And as you can see, it has created the composer log file as well as populating the lib vendor folder. This is a great feature to help keep your project size small. And this is the end of today's video. I hope you now have a basic understanding on how to use Composer and to install packages inside of your project. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to not miss out on any of my next lectures. Leave a comment down below about any questions or suggestions you may have. See you on the next video.